Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you already know that's because I make it that way. That's the way I do it. When I get up in the morning, before my feet hit the ground, I decide that it's going to be a groovy day. And then the rest of the day ends up that way. Something might change, something might happen, but I always think back. I started out groovy and I could turn this around. It's also a groovy day because I get to hang out with Jackie here on Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie. And we have some really cool guests with some really cool thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Let's jump right in and let's say hello to Jackie. Hi, Jackie. How's it going?
Hello. I am coming to you today from the great state of Arizona. I'm in the Phoenix area for a family gathering. My father-in-law passed away a week or so ago, so we had his memorial service yesterday. I'm still in town. So
Arizona's one of my favorite getaways because I just love Sedona. And I have a magical place there called Magic Mountain, and it was where the shamans sat and hung out and overlooked the ball court where they would play ball, and this is where the shamans would root them on. And then not too far away from there is a solar calendar that a lot of people don't know about, but
there we go.
Researchers suggest that it's close to 10,000 years old. So
wow.
I'm just fascinated by that whole area. So Jackie, if you can book over there, I'll tell you where to go because we're real close to the equinox.
I've been to Sedona, but I haven't been to those places. So
one day I'll take you there. V-Bar-B Ranch, if you can remember that.
V-Bar-B?
V-Bar-B.
Or V-Bar-B. Okay.
Now I've pumped our guest up because she is an expert in this
shaman. Yeah, I know. She's probably been there.
But first, we want to know what's going on with the Speak Feed Lead project. You just had the women's, bail me out.
It was
here.
the International Women's Day, Voices of Women International Summit. And in fact, our guest's daughter was one of the 21 presenters of young women that were able to join on that stage for that event.
I didn't know that. So
it was fabulous.
You guys are already friends. Is that the
deal? We got a connection.
Well, I can tell you, I'm very impressed with your connection because it wouldn't maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you probably wouldn't have connected with somebody like Janine. Is that right?
I have definitely opened my mind and my heart to a lot of new experiences and meeting new people. It's been wonderful. So,
yeah,
yes.
I am so impressed with the growth and I get to witness it. That's the cool part. You and I have been friends for very long. And I think at one point, Jackie thought, that Todd guy, he's a little too woo-woo for me.
He's woo-woo. I don't know that I thought you were too woo-woo. I just knew that you were woo-woo.
Some of the speeches Jackie and I were in a Toastmasters club together, and some of the speeches that I delivered, I'm sure, perked her eyebrows a little bit, like, what the heck? Anyway, are you ready for the show? I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasterradio.net or .com, whichever one you prefer, and you can go there. Any links that we talk about with our guest today will be right there. And some information a little bit later on in the week, Jackie will write a blog post about the show, what she got from it, and it's always a good way to refer to it and entices you to actually go to our YouTube channel or iHeartRadio, UpSnap Mobile, iTunes, and listen to the actual show because it's pretty cool. You can sign up for the newsletter while you're on the website, Jackie creates a newsletter as well once a week. It highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and of course, the blog post she just wrote about the show. Both of our books are there. I don't know. Jackie's in Arizona. I don't know. Oh, she does have a copy. But here's my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery, and there's her book, Self-Centered.
This is actually my sister-in-law's copy, and that's who I'm staying with right now. So she has one here. I thought, I'm going to grab that one.
Jackie wrote her book, and I thought, man, I got it. She can do it. I could do it. And that's what spurred me on to write my book. So we both have books. That's cool. And I believe that since you guys are already buddy,
that's right.
And this is your guest,
you
have the introduction. So take it away, my friend Jackie.
I do. Although I will warn you that nothing I say is going to give justice to Janine, because she's just an amazing person with so many talents. But her name is Janine Dancing Crow Bolon. And she's a sacred clown, a shaman, a bell dancer, and a first chakra healer. Now, I think we have to delve a little bit deeper into each of those. So she provides shamanistic healing by the use of totem animals for relationships, wealth, and life path challenges. Walking the medicine wheel is a process shamans of many different cultures have used for centuries to focus their metaphysical gifts to create positive change in their environments, relationships, and physical bodies. And many of the wheels that Janine has walked have been used to give thanks to the Great Spirit, to create a change, or were used to release a tradition back to source. Of the 15 plus different tribes Janine has worked with, each uses the wheel in a different way and with different intentions. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. She's going to be speaking to the more intimate personal uses of the medicine wheel. And she is the author of several books. We might be discussing Expressing the Divine, which is the 3rd installment of her Divine series of books. But she also has Seeking the Divine, Finding the Divine, Creating the Divine, which I think is coming out soon, The Thriving Solopreneur, Money, It's Not Just for Rich People, is the name of another book, Ditching Debt, The Grocery Store Game, Crash Cars and College, A Young Adult's Guide to Financial Freedom, and 10 Steps to Abundance, Mindful Money Mastery. And she has her own podcast that's called The Practical Mystic. This woman has so many fingers out there in the world doing so many great stuff, and I'm excited to have her on with us today. So welcome, Janine Bolon. Woo-hoo. Applause,
Everybody
applause.
throw up the jazz hands. Let's get the applause going. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Todd and Jackie, for having me on the show. When I first learned of Life Mastery, I was like, oh yeah, totally. Sign me up. How do I sign? Show me where the form is.
Part of my heart. You know,
yeah.
During that introduction, a couple things caught my attention, but did Jackie mispronounce, is it bell dancer or belly dancer?
Oh, bell. It's not
bell.
belly. No, okay. No. I leave that to a different skill set of woman. Mine is bell dancer,
so
and that's in the Native American tradition.
Right. The bell dancer. Okay. So yeah. Tell us about
Tell us about what a bell dancer does.
Well, it depends on the tribe. And there are some tribes where I come in and they kick me right out because they're like, we don't allow metal into the sacred circle and stuff like that. But I come in with usually an outfit that has quite a bit of feathers and quite a bit of bells, like 532 are usually sewn on to my outfit of any kind. And I've had people give me gifts that I wear as part of the accoutrement. But the bell dancer's job is to create sacred space. So if you have a new tradition you're trying to birth, you bring in the bell dancer to basically set the stage. So it would be like I'm kind of the stage manager of a theater. You clear the stage, you clear everything off, and you start building. And as each new person shows up, expressing to you what you want to have happen, you help build it. But of course, I'm not the one making the decision. The leader of whatever that sacred tradition is the one doing that. Right. My job is, well, how will that fit in with what the rest of the ceremony is going to look like or what have you? And that's where the part about being the sacred clown kind of comes in. If you notice in a circus, clowns are the ones goofing off, getting people laughing, warming up certain things, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, helping things work out. And please realize clown was the only English word that certain Native American tribes could help Westerners understand what their mystics that are called clowns were doing. Like they're the ones that work outside. They're, as people in the video industry like to say, they break the fourth wall. They're constantly breaking the fourth wall. They're breaking the tradition. They're breaking the rules to show you how not to behave in ceremony or what have you. So a lot of times the contrary, coyote, or trickster are used, but I'm a recovering Irish Catholic person that got kind of sucked into this. I do not have any Native American blood in me. I like to let people know that. But I kind of got sucked into a lot of this due to the traditions I was following. And I prefer more of that of the Fool. So if people are into tarot card reading or something, the major arcana of the Fool is more the medicine that I carry, the traveler, the itinerant, the one that walks the path of faith.
Well, the indigenous people call it the trickster. What is his name? Starts with a K.
It depends on what tribe you are affiliated with as to what the name will be. And there have been a lot. Copapelli?
Copapelli, there you go.
That's kind of a tradition that has a lot of legends affiliated with it. And we as Americans, you know how we'll take something very Italian, let's bring up pizza. Yeah. And look what we've done with pizza. When you go to Europe, people are no more shocked. Okay, so just realize there's a lot of Westernization that has happened with many of these traditional looks and motifs. There are very deep meanings behind that. And so I highly recommend that whatever region of the country you happen to be in, go look up that particular Native American tribe if you really want to know. And they may tell you, they may not. You know, they've had a lot of people that have been trying to ferret out their mystical understandings, right?
Sure. Yeah. That's part of any culture. I mean, look at how religion has grown over the years. It's not anything like it originally started out to be. And I think when it originally started out to be, well, here I'm talking to the expert. It was more of a personal spiritual journey than it was a whole group, I think, at least my opinion.
Well, so please realize that the path of the mystic versus the path of the scholar or what have you. Let's take the Judaic faith, because the Judaic faith is one that a lot of people have had some sort of familiarity with, even if they are consider themselves Christians. Christians are just an offshoot of that Judaic branch. And so the Judaic faith has two very different branches. And I'm not talking about the way they have built or structured their church, but that you had the mystical side. And a lot of people talk about the Kabbalah, which was the intimate personal relationship you had with your source, your divine. And then you had the scholarly approach, or what you might say is more of the structure that is more out there, what you see more generally. So realize with a lot of tribal people, no matter what culture or what continent they are from, that in tribal work, the individual, the mystic, the mysticism is much more important than the outward structure or ceremony. Yeah.
Or the connection. Yeah.
So how do you then define a mystic?
To me, a mystic is anybody who is on a personal search for their particular source.
Okay.
And doesn't everybody have that innate longing or calling? They just don't know how to describe it. I think in your book, you have a wonderful book. We're going to talk. You don't have a copy of it with you, do you?
Well, I didn't want to take screen time away from you or Jackie.
Usually I ask you. What a wonderful book, and I highly recommend that people go and grab it. We'll have links up, and I think you can get it for free. Is that right?
Yes, you can get it for free, the PDF version, and I'll be happy to mail you a copy if you would like.
We can put it in the newsletter. It's an amazing book. So if you're on that exploration of who you are, why you're here, what it's all about, I mean, this book might give you that direction. It might at least give you some answers. I'm not saying that it is full of the answers, but it will help you to formulate your own direction and what's important to you. And I think you described in the book what a lot of people are doing today, and that's living by default, right? Maybe you could highlight that for us a little bit.
Well, it's very easy to do. The challenge that a lot of people have, please realize where my journey started was I wanted a one-to-one relationship with the divine. I called it God at that time because, like I said, I was a recovering Catholic, and that's a joke with all us Catholics, but recovering Catholic. And so when somebody would come up to me about spirituality, I'd be like, buddy, that train has left the station. That I have been so indoctrinated. It's like I am clawing to get out of the many paradigms that I had instituted into my thought processes.
Right.
So you kind of have to throw everything out and start from scratch. So I went to scholarship. And so I was looking at Descartes and other sorts of scholars from the 1700s, 1600s, going back 1500s. And I did a lot of scholarly reading. I was trained as an analytical biochemist. Duh, this is what you do, right? But I then started running into mystics. And of course, because of the Catholicism now, you can say whatever you want to say about Catholics, but man, we are very good at documenting our saints. And the devil's advocate was a Catholic paradigm. It was part of what we did. And so I started going to original source documents that had been translated into English because I wasn't educated enough to.
Woman, how do you sleep at night?
I didn't have the education to go and learn the Latin or all that. So anyway, but I started reading all these books. And so this is how I spent my time. I wanted to understand what was behind the curtain. So it was kind of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. I wanted to know this guy behind that green curtain. And I wanted to know what this stuff was all about. And so that was my path. That's why I went on the path that I did. But so with that being said, when we talk about people living by default, realize they have a calling, they have an interest. They do have the question of, why am I here? You know, what is the point? Right? That is innate. However, how do you go about seeking it out? Well, now that's very customized and that's very individualistic. And so a lot of people may find themselves going to Egyptian mythology. They may find Joseph Campbell and start the hero's journey for themselves. They may, how
did you get in my head? How did you know? I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Those are common sources that people.
Common sources that we have nowadays that were not always around. And now you have the internet. So you can pretty much find a group or a group of like-minded people that if you feel you've been abducted by aliens and that's why your memory is as messed up as it is, you can find that group that will help you and support you. And see, this is all part of the path. I like to take extreme examples and go, this is all part of the same path.
Because it's a learning,
because it's the wheel, right? You have to figure out, you kind of have to go a little crazy. I encourage it, actually, that everybody go a little bit crazy. And what I mean by that is start thinking outside of your own box, whatever box you happen to have. Now, in the 80s, it was very common to say, ooh, think outside the box. I'm like, no, experience outside your box. Don't think. Think keeps you locked in. Your heart is calling you to a hobby. Your heart is calling you to doing an activity. You may be absolutely terrified, as I've talked with several of my Catholic friends, and they are always threatened, like, Janine, I feel like we're going to be struck by lightning at any moment. And I'm always go, don't worry about it. That's already happened to me and I lived. It's fine.
That's the fear part, right? That's the fear
it's the fear.
We have to get away from that, because that's what organized people, that's what kept them together for so long. And the way I look at that, it served a purpose, but today is a different world, and I don't think the solutions are there anymore.
One of my favorite quotes is a Hindu guru was asked, what is the most important aspect? What is the most important quality of a devotee, somebody who follows the path? Okay. And he turned to them and they were expecting love, grace, all these, peace, all those. And he looked at them and almost like a lion shouted at them, fearlessness, move through your life with fearlessness. And that stuck with me. So that was the type of spiritual person journey I took. There were so many times I was absolutely terrified. My knees were shaking, and I would walk across that threshold every single time, because I knew if I was in a state of fear, then I was still being shrouded from truth. Not just anybody's truth, but my personal truth was still shrouded. And so that's why I encourage people to live a fearless life. And if you're terrified, walk through the door anyway. There's a safety net there, but just like in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, he's getting ready to take that step of faith. And there is a safety net there, but you can't see it from where you're standing.
Yeah, I was taught to step off the edge of my own becoming.
Right? Yeah. Well done, Joseph Campbell.
So Janine, were your parents on a spiritual journey? Is that how you learned this? I know that you were Catholic, so it sounds to me like they weren't necessarily, that they were living by the
yeah.
tenets of that religion. So how did you start on this journey to think differently?
Well, my father was raised in a Catholic orphanage, so he was adopted, I think, when he's 16 or 17, because the orphanage was being shut down. So he had no love of religion, and we didn't have a lot of spirituality in the house in that way.
Mm.
However, there were a lot of things, since my father was a Vietnam veteran. He'd been to Korea. He had several bullet holes in his body that I remember as I was helping him with getting his shirts on or off during times of healing, that you could still see those scars. So he kind of had a rough go of it. But he had a few experiences on the battlefield that opened his mind up, that he was like, there's something else going on here, but with all the other things going on. And then my mother was incredibly intuitive. She had flashes of visions, and they always kind of came true. And she wasn't one of those that was all negative. She would always say, hey, we're going to need to take the umbrellas with where we're going. It's clear skies. Of course, we end up getting drowned by the end because the rain hit our little picnic or what have you. So she had these flashes of intuition. But you didn't talk about a lot of that stuff like you can now, right? I mean, this is back in the 60s and 70s. And, with all the movements that were happening and Vietnam era, and America wasn't at its best during that period of time. And definitely not when it came to, it was still called ESP, remember? And you were kind of a kook, right? Yeah. And the fact that you would talk to somebody that was already dead, okay, now you're just insane. Right. So you have to remember that's where we were back in that time. And so they kind of had to keep a lot of that under wraps in a way that we didn't. But my journey started because my mother died when I was in my 20s. And I wanted to know what this was all about. Yeah. Because she was a good woman. She was a nurse. I saw so much compassion from her, and she was, in my mind, she was a great mother, and she held the family together. And when she died, I was ready for some answers. And so it took me almost 25 years, but I got my answers. And I was that squeaky wheel.
Everybody has that calling, right? That's looking for answers. We already talked about that a little bit, but that is what do I want to say? It's an innate capability that we have, not a capability, but a wanting or a yearning.
I think it's in everyone because, with the answers that I received, what I know about this planet is that we're here to have fun and we're here to create. And if we're not creating,
do a good job of it.
Yes, we do.
No,
and if
you
we
do.
don't, I have a lot of good role models, but it's like there's a lot of things that you can create. And if you're not creating a new project, if you aren't creating something exciting that's exciting to you, and if it's like you just want to make replicas of Baby Yoda out of crochet, you go, right? You do that. If all you want to do is fly paper airplanes because you just find them fascinating, make it happen. Yeah. It's one of those things that we're supposed to be creating on this planet and enjoying our creation. So that's why I love the show. I mean, Todd and Jackie have put together an amazing program here with Life Mastery Radio. Are you kidding me? This is the place where you go to get inspired on what's the next thing do I want to create? What's the next thing that will bring me joy? And if you're not having fun with your life, and now this is the hard stuff, because Joseph Campbell talks about this, right? If you don't enjoy your life, then why aren't you changing it? Yeah. And then whatever excuses pop up, well, I can't because my mom, I can't because my husband, I can't because my children, I can't because, whatever your I can't is.
Those are all choices, right?
Those are the choices you've made. And so you either figure out how to be happy with where you are in this exact moment, or you get yourself I'm big on 90 days. You get yourself a 90-day plan. And I choose 90 days because that's how long the seasons are before they change. Mm-hmm. So you got 90 days to figure something out and implement something. It doesn't mean the change has to happen in that 90 days. It just means now's the time to create that foundation for yourself, whatever it looks like. Yeah.
Cool. And so tell us about how you were struck by lightning, because that sounds like a big part of this transition for you. right?
I was struck by lightning when I was around 9 or 10. I honestly, it was sometime in that area.
For real.
For real. And we were on an island in Eleuthera. My dad was in the Navy, so we were at a military base there. And it struck me. And I remember I explain in my book, Seeking the Divine. But after that occurred, it would be almost 40 years after that. It was 38, 37, something like that, before I would understand why I had made that choice to get struck by lightning in my life path. Because it would be in my mid 40s when Native Americans would come to me and say, have you ever been struck by lightning? And through a series of crazy events, and that was one of the questions the shamans asked me. And I said, yes, to which the 3 shamans that were present stepped back and a man stepped forward and he goes, you're one of ours, you're a Heyoka. Well, that was very important to me because I had had a vision earlier where I had this spiritual being coming to me saying, you're Heyoka. You're Heyoka. And that's what I heard, Heyoka. I didn't know how to pronounce the word that they were trying to say to me. And I realized later it's a Lakota word for what they were trying to move me forward with in the journey. And now I always recommend to people, if you really want to learn this stuff, go to a Native American, right? But part of my path was to be an itinerant clown or Heyoka. But I move from tribe to tribe. I'm not supposed to stay in any one because I'm a sacred clown of the world, because I go to Scotland, I go to Ireland, I go to all of these areas where they have wheels. And we were talking about walking
prayer
the medicine
wheels.
wheel with shamans. Yeah. And so your Buddhists have the prayer wheels, but you'll see it in almost every culture, every tradition. Yeah. There is a circular something that they are praying, or there is a ceremony around. And my job as a bell dancer is to work with those people to bring about whatever the change is or whatever the protection is that they're wanting for their particular community.
Now, we have to throw a disclaimer in here real quick, because we're not recommending that people go out and stand in a thunderstorm. Don't do that. Right.
Right. The Thunder Clan picks you. You don't pick them.
Okay. We just want to make sure. Don't go try and get hit by lightning. But I
so
have
one of
heard some amazing things that people have experienced, and their life changes when that does occur, naturally. And well, I don't really want to say out of the blue, but it is out of the blue.
It was a clear sky. That was one of the things that shocked everybody, was that It was a clear sky. There were no clouds that people could see, which was why it was so shocking. But one of the things I like to share with people is this is very old medicine, very old traditions. Nowadays, you can be struck by lightning. Like we'll go back to the Catholics. Brother Lawrence in the 1600s said to a confessor how he was talking about how he stood in front of a tree, and then all of a sudden the universe was revealed to him in that moment. It was like I was struck by lightning and struck dumb. And so when you start really studying mystics, they all talk about pivotal moments in their life where it was like I was struck by lightning, or it was like I was struck dumb, and they were moved out of their normal 3-dimensional thinking and processes and transported, teleported, shot out of their shell, is what some of them say. And they saw the universe and all of its beauty and glory. And then they lose words, because that's one of the things about the path of the mystic, is one of the very first things you lose as you're moving through these metaphysical dimensions is you lose the ability of language. Why? Because you become telepathic. Yeah. And then as you keep moving up the frequencies, then telepathy is too slow and you move into another space. And they call that the causal plane in India. I don't remember the Sanskrit word, but there is a word. And that's why you have a lot of mystics that go to India to understand, because India has Sanskrit, which is an old enough language where they had mystics that had all of these experiences, came back and created words to define the experiences that they were going through.
Wow.
Yeah, that happened to me as I stepped out of the Great Pyramid in Giza. After walking out of the tunnel and feeling like I was in the birth canal, and then I came out of the opening, and it was just like I was reborn. It was, and my life changed from that point on. It was amazing.
Yep. Well, Janine, I heard you describe an experience you had, and I'm not sure if this is one of those pivotal or transformative moments you were talking about in your life, but you saw a vision of the creation of souls.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
I can only imagine. But some of the things you said I felt so connected to because I work with young people. And so you described the creation of souls and why the children on this planet today are like they are, bubbly and happy and joyous. So do you mind sharing a little bit of that experience with us?
I don't mind.
Intense?
It's totally fine. The thing is people want to make it serious. And that's why I always say it's pretty intense, because if you go into any of these topics with a serious mindset, I start laughing hysterically. I can't help it, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, well, okay, yeah, all right, I'll own that. But the other thing is this isn't serious. There's nothing, and this is one of the hard things for a lot of people to accept, and they're welcome to their paradigm, right? That's not my job. My job is not to rattle their cage and break them out of their paradigm. But my job is to alert them to the fact that on planet Earth, nothing serious is going on here. Now, people will fight you literally to the death on this. They will kill you to keep their metaphor. They will stand and they will show you example upon example about the horrors and the drama. And I'm like any good stage play, we have it all on this planet. We have horror, we have humor, we have comedy, we have drama, we have adventure action. We have it all on this planet. So when it came to the creation of souls, it was very simple. And the more simple something becomes, the less people trust it, it seems, because it's not complicated enough. So the vision that I had was I was in a space that was still three-dimensional because I was able to use words. And this is how I know if I'm still in three-dimensional space-time, if I have the access to language and it's not all telepathy, then I know that I have not moved to the fourth dimension yet. Because three-dimensional space-time allows me to label things. So what was popping into our world, into this three-dimensional world, were these spheres of absolutely electricalized light. And it was almost like, the static electricity balls that you can touch on the science fairs and stuff. It looked a lot like that. Now, I know I probably saw it that way because mystics are given experiences with which their brain can handle and label and identify. And so you're given comfortable ideas, you're given comfortable metaphors and things that you see. But anyway, these balls of light or electricity were bouncing along, and I was watching the souls coming in, and they were jazzed. They were excited. It was like kids lining up for the ice cream truck, or kids lining up, and it was Disneyland, and they had been waiting to see Mickey Mouse, and they were being given a ticket that was saying, yes, and you're going to get to see Mickey Mouse. And they were just like, it was that kind of energy, that kind of excitement. And I was told every soul comes into Earth with that excitement, every soul, because they know what a rarity it is to be on a planet that is so far removed from source. It gives the appearance of being so far removed from source. Right. But we are given the option to totally ignore the 90% that we are that is still in non-physical space-time. And we run around with 10% or less of what we are in this cute little fleshly meat puppet cage, as some people like to call it, our little avatar that's called Janine or Jackie or Todd. And we get to run around for 70, 90 years-ish. And as we run around and do all that, we get all these experiences. We get to play in the mud. We get to create a life. We get to mess it up. We get to mess up our life so horrifically. There's no way you can come back for this. And then we do come back from it. And then we're given awards, and we write books, and we do podcasts, and we talk about the trauma we went through and how we've survived it all, and give the generation behind us a rah-rah speech. You can do it too. So who wouldn't love to be a part of that kind of an adventure?
Yeah. Wow.
Fascinating.
That was pretty cool.
It's totally cool. It's great.
Yeah.
So there's nothing serious going on here, because when we die, which by the way, there is no such thing as death, but when we die, we go back to source. And we meet up with all of our buddies. And a lot of the people you don't get along with here on planet Earth are your best friends when you get back.
Wow.
When you go back. Why? You don't want somebody who doesn't love you dearly to be the biggest pain in your derriere on this planet. They are here to test your paradigms, right? They're here to annoy the Hades out of you, right? It's their job, because if you're seriously annoyed, you may just do something fantastic and create a better life for yourself, right? And so that's part of that mental health that I absolutely love, where they talk about how do you take the worst thing that's ever happened to you and what was the best thing that came out of that. And that kind of focus actually keeps you in the creative space, which is true, because once you die, you're not going to look at your life experience on this planet as trauma and drama. You're going to look at your life experience and go, did I accomplish all the things I wanted to do?
Is that the
And
end
am
of
I going to go for another ride? Am I going to get to the back of the line and go for another ride?
Well, that's
or
my
not?
question. That's my
Yeah.
question. Is that the end of the cycle, Janine? Or is it the belief that there's something else and we get sent back, or we send ourselves back, or we choose to go back?
Yeah, all the above. So look, human beings on planet Earth, right? It's like, do you want to line up and go for another ride? And that's why I love carnivals. That's why I love amusement parks, because to me, it's a miniaturization of what souls are doing as they incarn on this planet. It's like, what, do you want to go for another round? No, I'm feeling a little sick. I think I want to go sit down just for a little while, just take a little bit of a rest. They'll wait 100, 200, 300 years, take a look at what's going on the planet and see if they're supposed to do that or not. And by the way, we're not the only place where you can create, but we're one of the few where you get the mind wipe. Right. So we signed up for the mind wipe. Like, we're going to make it so you don't remember who you are. I mean, it's literally, this is a ride. And so you can pick out the type of people you hang out with. You get to pick out what color skin, what color eyes, what kind of family you want to move into. I mean, we get to pick all that stuff out. And so when people sit there and whine, when my college students sit there and whine at me about their parents, I always go, well, you picked them.
You picked
And they go,
them.
I don't remember picking them. There's no way I would pick them. And I look at them and I go, you did. So you've got to figure that out. Why did you pick those parents? And I think they did their job, because you're so ornery and you are so tenacious because of the way they treated you, that you won't be stopped at the first no when you want to go do whatever it is you want to go do. You're too stubborn. You're too tenacious for that.
Thought I see a countdown going on. Does this mean that we actually
It looks like the recording will stop in about 2 minutes, but I think I can record it again and then I'll just piece it together.
I'm wondering if the whole room will shut down at that time.
I don't think so. We're going to find out. If not, we have about 2 minutes left. But we'll just restart it and we'll piece it together, because I think that we have another 15 minutes with our guest, if she's willing to hang out with us. You know, your book just fascinated me. I told Jackie during our pre-show that I'm going to order about 10 copies and give it to people, because I hear from people all the time. I don't get it. I don't understand. But one of the things I really hear from people close to me, especially when I recommend meditation has made such a huge difference in my life. Well, I don't know how to do that. And I've tried to do that, and I can't shut my mind. I can't focus enough, or my mind takes off on me. What do you tell people, Janine, when they tell you? You've heard it too. You're smiling like hugely.
I hear it all the time. I can't meditate. And I go, yes, you can. And they're like, I said, but you have a paradigm in your head. You have a defined box. I have to sit on the floor with my legs crossed, and that's uncomfortable. Soften the technique for yourself. But it is in everybody's best interest. It behooves you to go into meditation, because that's where your answers are. And the world was designed to keep you distracted from finding your answers. The world wants you to learn everybody else's answers. But if you want your personal answers, you need to meditate.
Meditation, then, Janine, people can do it. They know they can do it, or they don't know they can do it, but they don't understand that yes, they can do it. So what is something else that you tell them to get them started, or to at least give them the confidence that they can do it?
Okay, we're going to talk about healthy individuals that are physically healthy.
Right.
They have 2 arms, 2 legs.
Good
We're going to
point.
take that assumption that you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and you are able to walk. Okay, let's take that group first. All right. So if you are able to move your body parts and you're doing fairly well, then you can sit in any kind of a comfortable chair. And all you have to do is focus on your breathing and rest your eyes about right there in the middle of your forehead between your eyebrows, not exactly to your eyebrows, otherwise you'll be cross-eyed. And as we all know, Buddha does not want you to be cross-eyed. So lift your eyes up gently to a point right above your nose. And why are you doing all this? It's to distract your mind, because your mind cannot understand itself. And we don't want the mind to understand the mind. We want the mind to go take a chill pill, sit down before it hurts itself, and allow your heart a chance to speak, because that's normally the area of our bodies that most of the divinity comes through. So as a Catholic, you probably have seen the Sacred Heart of Christ, where you have Jesus Christ and there's this huge light coming from his heart. And one of the beautiful things about that is it's an old metaphor for what happens when somebody is walking the path of their life that is truly their passion. Their heart chakra is very, very open, and you understand these people have a magnetism about them that is perceivable and palpable. Okay, so when it comes to meditation, you're wanting to open up that heart chakra, which is why a lot of the teachers say focus on your breathing.
Right.
Well, if you focus on your breathing, what are you doing? You're getting out of your head and into your heart. And so one of the things that is helpful is you sit in the chair, you relax, lean back, and focus on your breathing. If you're focused on your breathing, you're not thinking. There are several teachers out there that recommend that you listen to the air conditioner, or you put some sort of an app on your phone, right? And just sit there for 3 minutes. Do not, I teach people 3-minute meditations. Set a timer for 3 minutes and clear your mind to the best of your ability. What's funny is most people get so addicted, they're like meditating for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes and more. But first, the whole point is get into the habit, just get your butt in a chair and sit there and meditate. Now, the people that tell me, oh, I'm too itchy, I can't sit still, I can't do that, then I always say for those folks, have you studied the Buddhists with their walking meditations? See, there's no excuse. We have had billions of human beings have walked this planet. And guess what? We have a meditation for you. Why? Because we've had billions of people on this planet reconnecting with source. So don't tell me it doesn't work for you if you can't list off at least 10 or 15 things you've tried. It's almost like dieting. Okay, just keep working.
Yeah, something that really worked for me, you talked about focusing on the breathing. And then I would also focus on bringing light in and filling my body up with light. And then when I exhaled that gray or that darker stuff. And so that really worked for me. Another key that Wayne Dyer wrote a book called Getting in the Gap. And I read that book and it clued me in on exactly the practice that would work for me. Everybody's different, right?
Right. And so if somebody doesn't resonate with you, which is one of my favorite words to use, resonate, because if something is in resonance, it means you're in harmony.
Yeah,
so we're leaving the word balance behind. That is an Age of Pisces word. That age left us about 10, 15 years ago. We're moving into the Age of Aquarius. Do you guys hear that song? I always hear that song when Age of Aquarius. But we are moving into that age, and that age is all about listening to your heart, which is why we have so many amazing people such as Wayne Dyer and others, Joseph Campbell and others who were ahead of the time trying to get us revved up and ready for what was coming in this age, which requires all the old structures to dissolve, as you have watched happen over the last several years. And as we're increasing in our awareness that, oh, we're more than this fleshly cage that runs around on planet. Yeah, there's a lot more to us, but we all got the mind wipe. Yeah. So back to meditation, though. Meditation is how you go about reintroducing yourself to yourself. It's how you get past that mind wipe.
That's interesting. So part of meditation, then, I hear you saying, is to remember, right? There's a remembering that happens because we've had this mind wipe. So the meditation is to get into the present moment and remember who we are, because we have forgotten that. Is that the main focus of meditation, or is that a byproduct of meditating well?
Yes and yes. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be difficult with this, but there are so many. It's like when you take aspirin, it gets rid of pain, right? And you say, well, what kind of pain? Take the freaking tablet. It's going to get you out of pain, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to, go ahead, Todd.
I was just going to say, and see what works for you, but keep at it, right? I think there's something else that you talk about in your book too, and you get in depth. We probably don't have time to get in depth with it. Well, which reminds me, I sure hope you'll come back on the show. I think there's so much more to talk about.
It would be my pleasure. But what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I just wanted you to speak to the discipline part.
Oh, the 4 disciplines?
Well, not the 4 disciplines so much as the importance of incorporating discipline in your life, because it's real easy to dance around and get in the groove and jump out of the groove and then get back in the groove. But if you don't incorporate some kind of discipline in your life to stay in the groove, it's easy to get away from.
Well, yeah, because we're creators, right? We love to create. And so
I just love to say that we're creators, because that's what gets people in the groove, right? That's what gets their juice flowing, is when they're creative. And when they're standing back, living by default and not creating things, get up, go to work, come home, make dinner, watch some news, and then go to sleep. It's just this grind that will grind people into nothing.
Well, we weren't designed for it. Okay. We're not machines, and we weren't designed for that. But when it comes to discipline, one of my favorite teachers was talking about discipline is just what a disciple does. And so you don't have to be a disciple of somebody else. Be a disciple to your own remembrance of who you are. And if you hear James Earl Jones talking to Simba saying, remember who you are, I giggled so badly. I had to leave the movie theater during that scene of Lion King, because I was like, you hear this stuff everywhere. And believe it or not, these are all milestones and signposts to let you know, look, there is so much more on this planet. There's so much more to you than what you experience on this planet. But the only way that you will be able to remember a lot of that is through meditation. And then there's a whole host of benefits that, people can list off all the benefits that you get from meditating. For me, I didn't care about any of that. I wanted to freaking know the mind of God. I was right there with Einstein, and I get up on the pulpit and I start banging on my counter. It's like, I wanted to know the mind of God, because this guy was messed up as far as I was concerned. He was a real jerk when it came to the Old Testament. He wasn't too nice to his son either, if you want to believe the New Testament. So I wanted to know who this dude was that everybody was freaked out about. And then I found a whole different set of answers and questions when I started doing my meditation.
Funny that you say that, because Pam Grout, we've had her on the show numerous times, and she calls spirit, or the source, she calls it the dude. It's the dude.
All that is. Yeah. I used to call him daddy, because it pissed people off. I would say, hi, daddy, it's me again. And I still do not understand what's going on. And then I would start cursing like a truck driver or a sailor, however you want to say that, because I thought if I couldn't be raw and real with the dude, then he wasn't anybody I wanted to hang with, right? Because I figure if you couldn't take me at my most essence, my rawest part, then I didn't want anything to do with them. And what was fascinating is how those prayers seemed to get answered a lot quicker than when I was polite.
That's funny that you say that, because I got irate. In my exploration, and I'm like, okay, you need to prove to me that you're there. This I need to know. I need some evidence. And through a series of events, I met a guy. We kind of clicked, and he said, the name Todd, that means fox. That has, and I was like, yeah, I've heard that, the Fox and the Hound. His name was Todd, and da 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 da. So we had our nice little chat. And I left, and I'm driving away. It's dark. And at this point in time, I lived on the same street that my shop was on. And so I'm driving down this road, and I look over, and there's a fox running alongside my truck for the entire mile back to my place. And I was like, okay, I get it. There's a lot more to that story, but that was just, I get chicken skin right now, just reliving that event. my demand to show me proof that you exist. And that was just one occasion.
Well, and it's very customized. The answer is always customized for the mystic, right? And on top of all of that, we'll just start calling you Gideon from now on, because Gideon was the same way in the Old Testament. He kept telling God, "Look," But the thing is whether you call it God or source or whatever. When I moved into the fourth dimension, and when I learned more about what I was, as far as the energetic side of who and what I was, you lose the concept of God as well. And that is not meant to scare anybody. It's not meant to make them freak out. It's just, you really start calling it source, because then you move into a understanding where you become part of all of creation, because you can't help but see that you are a part of the source, and that all of us are, kind of related at that point. And and people say that, but until you experience it, you don't quite know. Yeah, people will say, we're all connected. And I'm like, and how do you know that?
Because somebody told me.
And then you'll see people kind of go, or people like you, Todd, will go, well, because I was sitting in meditation and I had this experience. And see, that's the difference between a mystic and a scholar. The mystic experiences these things. And so I can go to any mystic of any religion, and we can have a very delightful conversation.
Yeah, sure. Oh my goodness, ladies, it looks like we just have about 5 minutes left. Jackie, you look like you're itching to ask something.
Well, I am, because as I was reading Janine's book, and it was the latest one. So what is that? Expressing the Divine.
Expressing the Divine.
Right. Expressing the Divine. I was reading through that, and you do a really great job explaining the 5 or 6 clairs, right? And so I was trying to decide, do I have any of those, I don't know, talents or means? And I was brought to remembrance of a dream that I had about my grandmother, who has been dead for many years. And yet I spent a lot of time with her when I was a little girl, and she was a smoker. And so her apartment always smelled of old cigarette smoke. And at that time, it wasn't that I necessarily liked it, but it was grandma. So I loved it, right? And so in this dream, which was about 5 years ago or so, I was asleep in the dream, and then I heard a noise and woke up, and I saw my grandmother coming down the hallway with this big shopping cart full of stuff. And I don't even know what the stuff was, because I think it might have been covered up by a sheet or something. But I could see there was big lumps of something in this shopping cart that she was pushing toward me. And I didn't even notice what was in it, because I was so excited just to see her. And I said, "Grandma, you're alive, you're here." And I ran up to her and I hugged her, and I could literally feel her neck on my face as I put my face into her neck. And then I could smell the cigarette smoke on my grandmother. And I woke up with this smile on my face, because I was feeling her and I was smelling her. What it all meant, I have no idea. I still don't know. She was obviously trying to give me something. She was bringing me something, and I couldn't see what it was, but I had this experience where I could literally smell her and feel her. So does that make me talented in one or two of those clairs, or was it just a dream? That's what I wanted to ask you.
Everybody has the 5 working clairs, but they may express differently, and it depends on what phase of life you're in as well, and what you are willing to open up. So the thing is, yes, if you would come to me and say, this is a dream I had, and the fact that that is the dream you're interested in, I'd say, well, your maternal line is obviously trying to get you to open up so that they can bring you the gifts that they know that you have already within you. Remember, I was talking to you about the remembrance, right? Remembering. Well, we feel safe with like mothers and grandmothers, unless you've had some sort of trauma. Then there's another person that may come out, but it's always with some person of safety that the gifts are brought to you. Okay. And it's not that you didn't have them, it's just you didn't pay attention or focus in on it. And so whatever you focus on grows. So that's why it's so important to focus on the positive things in life, because if you're focusing on what's working well, then more will work well. Like the better it gets is what some of the teachers say. But if you focus on everything that's falling to Hades in a handbasket around you, well, guess where you're going. You're going to drive yourself there. So anyway, for you though, with the 5 clairs, I have retreats where we will walk through, we'll do assessments on people. I'll ask them questions, I'll mention experiences, and we'll go line item by line item, and we'll figure out which ones are more prevalent or more at the surface. We'll work on those. You get some momentum, and then we can unearth all the clairs for you for your own spiritual journey. But we start with the ones that are easy for you first, so you get some momentum, and then we dig into the deeper ones. But everybody has these gifts. It's just a matter of, are you going to, take the time to meditate? Yeah. Are you going to sit down and get to know yourself better? Or are you going to just continue to hide from yourself by being super busy?
Right.
Wow.
So tell us about these things these trainings then that you have, because you've got something coming up for the equinox, right?
Right. April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I'm a clown. So April 1st, always the Fool's Day. Okay. I have a 3-day retreat, 4 hours a day online, where we start with the assessment. We work through mindset. We help you release some of the childhood trauma you may have had when you first started expressing your gifts and you swore you'd never do them again because you got into trouble or something. We release a lot of that. And by the 3rd day, you have a 90-day plan on what to do. So it's a 3-day retreat that's coming up. Yeah.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And more can be found out at your website.
You
Which
betcha.
is
thepracticalmystics.com.
And there's another one.
I have several, but that's the one we want people to go to.
I know she has several websites. Oh my goodness, ladies.
So 10? A lot of fun. Yeah.
10 websites. 10, I think I have 4. I might have to up my game a little bit.
That's the problem with writing books, honey, when you have different demographics.
Well,
anyway,
Janine, I want to thank you so much for showing up as you today. You have, oh my gosh, you have just fascinated, opened my world up a little bit more. You got me a little bit out of my, what do I want to say, living by default. I've been kind of in this treasury, but you have definitely awakened me to what I know is possible, right?
Yep, so it is possible. Much. Yep. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And I also encourage your listeners to continue listening to this podcast, because these podcasters put a lot of effort and time into these, and they are attracting a very high level of people. Whenever you start talking to people about life mastery, these folks have put some serious time into that. And so Jackie and Todd, thank you for your brand of leadership. It's needed, it's necessary, and keep trucking, please.
Yeah, thank you.
And look at that. Thank you so much. It's 11:11, all ones. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tell a friend about the show. Please, please, please tell a friend about this really cool show with Todd and Jackie, and they have some amazing, stellar guests. And we would appreciate that. Check out our website. Lastly, please do me a favor and make it a great day, because it is all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
And we're done. Thank